We are rolling.
So, last week we talked about true crime, and it was actually a pretty fun episode. I really liked it. I'm still
Detectives on the case.
I'm still waiting for somebody to write in and give us some clues on some of those.
I know. I'm waiting for a murder to go solve.
Yeah, I need a case to work on this winter.
A case study.
But you know what we forgot to talk about in the last episode?
What's that?
The absolute fact that you could have been a cold case.
I could have been a cold case, and we can go into that story right now because it's a good time. We do have it. It's on one of our, what did we call the early reels?
Yeah.
The early years.
The B-reels that I was releasing when we were just test recording random shit.
Right. So first off, let me preface this by saying I only know this story as it's been told to me. I was too young to remember. A baby. I was a baby. We're just going to throw a number out there. I don't know the exact one. We're going to say 18 months. Is that a baby?
Were you walking?
I don't know. I don't think. Gosh. So here's the thing.
18 months is...
Well, I'll tell you this. So Matthew wasn't born. And Matthew and I are 2.5 years apart.
Okay.
So Matthew wasn't born.
Okay.
I don't know if mom was pregnant with Matthew.
Okay.
That's a possibility.
Okay.
But I'm just going to guess I'm in the 18-month range because, as we'll see, this was all under the guise of a play date. So I got to be playing. You know what I mean? Little infants aren't playing, right?
Right. Well, I mean, okay, so to give you like some context, Anthony was walking at 8 months, and that's early, but boys tend to trend earlier.
So we'll say a year.
Okay.
At walking.
Yeah, a year to 18 months. That makes sense.
A year to 18 months. That's exactly right. So mom is at the grocery store. Shout out the old Martins in Wayne Heights, where Tractor Supply is now.
Okay.
And this is the early 80s.
Somewhere
mid-80s. It's the mid-80s because it's probably 84.
84, 80, yeah.
Was what we're thinking.
Yes.
We're going to call it the winter. The early winter in January of 1984. Mom was at Martin. We were at Martin's. And this is where the part gets fuzzy because nobody knows this but mom. You know what I mean?
And she doesn't talk about it.
At this part of the story.
Did we ever ask her about it?
She says it didn't happen. She says it happened, but she
Lori,
downplays it.
I'm going to bring you on as a guest. So we can
she
talk
downplays
about
it.
All the crazy shit.
But I heard both dad and grandma told the story.
But both dad and grandma have the tendency to embellish.
I mean, maybe, but this is, but at the store, only mom knew.
Okay.
At other points, other people in the story are active in the story. So we're at the store, we're at Martin's. Mom meets this lady who has a kid with her around the same age. And somehow through one thing or another, I ended up going home with this lady. And I don't know we don't know if there was a phone number exchanged or the addresses. I don't know the exact details of this part. You know what I mean? Like there was some vague.
Somehow there was a
mom
phone
wasn't
number,
just going to give me to him with no address, no
sure,
nothing. I mean,
absolutely.
So
not.
she had something that to go off of. Right. I think it might have been an address, like a specific house or something like that. Anyway, I think mom did have a phone number. The lady was supposed to call at a certain time, or mom was going to call. I don't know if when mom tried to call, the lady wasn't answering, or if like the phone number wasn't any good, or what the deal was. Exactly, how she couldn't get a hold of her, I don't know. Mom called Grandma Reed, and mom was and Grandma Reed was like, "Well, you got to call the cops, Lori."
Right.
And so she called the cops. She was going to call the police. Grandma hangs up the phone and says, "We got to get that baby back before Jimmy gets home."
Because your dad was at work.
Right, Dad was at work. So my grandfather, who's a big dude, he steps into action, and they're like, we're going to find him. So I guess they heard on the police scanner that the police were going to wherever this was. And I don't think they had an exact, between a combination of factors of knowing what Mom said and hearing what they heard on the scanner, they thought they knew where I was at. So they're like, we're going to get him. We'll go ahead and mention this part, is that they were involved in some kind of baby ring out of Baltimore. So Waynesboro, is probably in the old days down 140 to Baltimore, even today. So an hour, 15 minutes, something like that. An hour and 15 minutes, hour, 20 minutes, depending on where you're going. So there was some kind of baby ring going on. I don't know how they put this all together. But so my pap and my grandma go to look for me. And my pap stops in the middle of the road. I don't even know if he shut the car off. And
legend has it
that he didn't even shut the car off. Grandma had to hop over in the driver's seat and put it in park.
Oh, okay.
At least that's how I'm telling it. I don't know. But I do know that he didn't shut the car off. I mean, he probably did pull it out of gear. But he didn't shut the car off. He just got out. Didn't even shut his door. I do know that. Didn't even shut his door.
Middle of the road.
Car
still running. Door
open. Probably.
And we need to paint the scene a little bit better here for listeners, because Mr. Reed was very tall.
Well, that's why I said he's a very big dude. Yeah. He was a drill sergeant in the Army.
Yeah.
He was a big dude.
I never had the chance to meet him.
6'2".
He would have intimidated me.
Big dude, you know what I mean? Big. Yeah. He just a big guy, you know what I mean? Just big dude. And we could sit here and talk stories of Pappy beating people up in bars, but we're not going to.
Not this episode. We have a crazy family episode coming up. And that's going to be right around Thanksgiving.
These are all stories as dictated to me by Mary Reed. Obviously, I never seen any of them in person, and she was known to tell some white lies. So regardless of any of this, Pap stops. He gets out of the car. He kicks the door in. Bow! Like he's the cops. You know what I mean? Bam! Kicks the door in. And gave him the old Hogan boot to the door. Boom. Door's down. He walks in. He says, "That's my grandson, you dirty kidnappers from Baltimore." And
that's exactly how it went down.
Verbatim. No. But he did say, "That's my grandson." Snatched me up. Walks out the door. By that time, I guess the cops are getting there. And I always wondered, too, sometimes we've ventured this out there, is that, so say Pap and Grandma don't get there, what if, or was I young enough that maybe they didn't even know what I looked like? And I got switched with another kid that was pretty close to me. Which I know isn't true, because I've seen the pictures from when I was a little baby.
No, but that's holy shit, I never even thought of that.
But people could do that. I mean, it could happen. If you're young enough. I mean, I think I've seen documentaries where that's happened.
Yeah. I mean, you look way too much like your grandfather, Minnick, too.
Right. Obviously, obviously I'm definitely in the right one, but they grabbed the right one. Pap grabbed the right one. Well, I mean, he wasn't going to make a mistake.
No.
Especially not at the age that I think that I was.
Right, exactly.
If it was an infant, that's one thing.
For one thing, your hair was bright orange when you were little.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe this other little boy's was too, though.
Little Ginger Ninja.
Little Billy Bartley. That was the other little boy. No,
it wasn't. You don't know what it's.
No, I don't even know. Obviously, I don't remember, but I would like to. I wish I could young Sheldon it. How he remembers Meemaw's brisket.
I know. I thought your memory was like that, but apparently didn't start until 4.
It started, so we're talking the beginning of 84. By the end of 84, I was remembering, because I remember what I got that year for Christmas.
Oh, okay.
I got a big wheel, Bigfoot big wheel. And I also got The undeniable.
James, I'm going to need
best.
for you to dig into your archives and pull out the picture that corresponds with this so-called fact that he remembers from the end of 1984.
Well, I also have other proof. I remember getting the Cabbage Patch doll, and I have the birth certificate for that.
Did you get a girl Cabbage Patch or a boy Cabbage Patch?
You know what his name is? I have the adoption certificate somewhere in my papers.
Get the papers.
Somewhere in my papers. Harry Hawk Hogan.
Oh, you renamed him.
Actually, that wasn't 1984. That was 1985.
Okay. My Cabbage Patch doll, his name was Xavier Alexander, and I renamed him to Justin. I can't remember what the
Justin Trudeau. She foresaw the future because he was a Canadian. Canadian Cabbage Patch.
No, but he did have a shock of red hair. Curly red hair.
A shock of red hair.
I've been into gingers since I was 5.
You know what I loved when I was a kid was Garbage Pail
Kids.
When they came out, because they had cards. That's why I liked them, trading cards.
I thought they were disgust. You know me, I can't.
I thought they were funny. Some of them were funny.
I can't. They gross me out. I don't like girly stuff.
But yeah.
So what are we talking about this week?
Ooh, I got the heebie-jeebies.
Jeepers creepers.
I got the willies. I got the willies.
Ghost Dad.
Ghost Dad. I did. So I remember watching Ghost Dad.
What year was it?
1991. No, it couldn't have been. What year did Ghost Dad come out? Let's take a look. Because you can descript all of this right out of there.
Yeah, I know.
But so, it might have been 90. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, I was thinking backwards. Yeah, it definitely. I saw it in 1991. I said, I was dead on. I was dead on because I remember where I watched it.
So you would have been 9 in 91.
Right.
I was in 10th grade.
Right. I mean, that has nothing to do with it.
No, Ghost Dad wasn't on my radar back then. When I think I did finally watch it is whenever one of my older two were young, maybe 3 or 4.
Dad and Linda would rent movies.
Oh yeah, right.
So it was just every movie that came out. Eventually, that was a PG to PG-13. We would watch.
Right.
As a family.
Or when
movie
Linda
nights,
wasn't home.
Saturday nights. No, if Linda wasn't home, Dad would. We watched The Exorcist. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's not like Linda didn't know.
Right. No.
I'm not saying it like that. It's just Dad would. She didn't want to watch that. So Dad would watch scary movies with me. Dad was actually he discovered Netflix. He discovered it? He was one of their very first customers. And that's no lie. He was within the first month of them debuting their DVD exchange through the mail service. Dad was on it, and they didn't even have that many movies. You couldn't even get that many good movies. You had to wait. You had to wait because the good ones were out. That's how small they were. Right. And so he ended up having to get this because it was you would get free rentals, and it was called Horror Hospital. Not Horror Hospital. Horror. That's a whole different movie. Horror Hospital. And it was it was when I say B movie, I mean B of the worst kind. It was, I think it's legendary. And it was terrible. We didn't watch that much of it. We'll have to consult our B horror movie fanatics because that's not for me. The main reason why I can't do B movies though is because there's a lot of gore in them. Remember when the kids watched Human Centipede? Oh yeah. My God. I about died. No, let me clarify so nobody turns me into CPS. When I say kids, they were 16, 17. No, they were 13 and 14 at the time. No, I think they were probably even older than that. Is Christian the same age as Olivia? Yes. So how old was she when we lived in Winburn? Christian was born in high school, right? May, and Olivia was born in June. Yeah. So, they have 15. 15.
Disgust.
But
I am what they I'm called an empath. So when I see violence on TV, when I see gore on TV, my body physically feels it to pain levels. So I don't fuck with that.
What was the one where the lady had teeth in her vagina?
Vagina dentata.
No, that's what the disease was called. But these kids are running around our house for a week talking about vagina dentata. Remember?
Yeah, but I don't remember what movie it was. Was it Hole or something?
No, it's called I have to know. Mouth, maybe? Teeth. I think it was called Teeth.
Teeth. Vagina dentata.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It came out in 2007.
And let me just tell you, the more that you tell your teenagers you do not want to hear anything about it, the more they describe it in absolute fucking gory detail.
Vagina dentata.
But what's your favorite scary movie?
Right. No.
I can't say it. I can't say it like that. But what is your favorite scary movie?
I mean, that's a loaded question.
You could do the voice. Do it. Try it.
What voice?
The Scream voice. Are you crazy?
Oh.
That's literally
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can. Hello? No, I can't.
What's your favorite? I can't
Hello,
do it.
Sydney. What's your favorite? I'd see it. No, that sucks. That's terrible.
It sounds like an old man.
I can't do it.
From Pittsburgh that needs oxygen.
No, I can't. I can't.
Don't do it. Okay. So
what's your favorite scary movie?
So what is your favorite scary movie?
I don't know. Let's see. I mean, it's so many.
I know. There's so many good ones.
And it depends on what level. Like, I mean,
I have one. One absolute. It's the only one. I could watch it every single day. I love it. It still scares me.
Hocus Pocus?
Yes. I'm terrified by Hocus Pocus.
Halloween Town.
Yes. It's so scary whenever I don't even remember what happens in that one. I do love it. But those are, oh my God, I love all those fun
Halloween.
movies. Yes, that's Halloween.
Which is a paranormal, which is coming up, which is kind of why we're doing this.
Yeah, there's so much in this genre that you could talk about, like movies, whatever.
Yeah, which is probably why we're going to do 2 episodes about this. Because we're going to forget enough in this one that we're going to have to run it all back and talk about it.
I have an agenda, and he's ADHD. I'm ADHD.
Right, but we know so much about, there's so much about it. Which we'll bring to already talking about my grandma.
Let's finish one subject.
Well, no, I know, but I thought that was the very first thing I was trying to lead us back to there.
Oh, no, it's not in order.
Oh, okay.
It's whatever you want to talk about.
Right on.
Well,
so my favorite scary movie, and I'll tell you this. You can cut right to there.
Thank you.
No, so my favorite scary movie... There's so many. I mean, just flat out scary, probably Halloween.
That is a good scary movie.
Just flat out scary movie. Now, there's movies that I like that I think are scarier, but for a whole different, psychological reasons.
I love a good psychological
You know what I mean?
Thriller.
Like The Exorcist or something that makes you think, about something.
Well, there's other movies that aren't even, related to paranormal that are psychological thrillers, like Crush.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I mean,
where you're just like, what's that one with De Niro on the boat?
Cape Fear. Right.
But
that's not paranormal, though.
No, it's not. So we'll talk about that another day. My favorite scary movie of all time ever is Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah, Poltergeist. That's definitely
all of it.
I think I would have to, like most things, I can't pick a favorite. Shit. Oh, but I could do a top 5, probably. And I might have some honorable mentions. 5. But yeah, no, Poltergeist is definitely in my top 5. That's why I brought that up.
Yeah.
It's not it could be my favorite. It depends on the day.
Right.
But it's definitely one that I love. And I remember just watching those movies as a kid. That's the other thing, too, is watching scary movies as a kid. We watched a lot of stuff when my parents weren't home.
Of course.
So, that's how I saw a lot of these. And that makes it extra scarier when you're 10 and you're putting in Poltergeist.
Yes. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that, the first time I ever saw the first Nightmare on Elm Street, I was babysitting my brother and sister. And we're all a year apart. not even. So that was fun because that's the time that I tried to sneak up on Amber and scare her, and she turned around and punched me right in the face. It was Nightmare on Elm Street we were watching.
Well, the dad used to do that to us all. Anytime we watch anything scary, go to bed then after, the play on Linganore, the hallway. So, like, Dad would constantly be hiding, like, in one of the doorways or outside the bathroom. Anytime we watch anything scary.
I would hate it.
And, yeah, he would get us good. That came from he had a long history of trying to scare his brothers. They all used to do that on the mountain to each other.
Sure.
I mean, so I would say Exorcist, Poltergeist, Exorcist 3, which I said it's not really a sequel to The Exorcist, but it was written by William Peter Blatty and directed by
Is it
William
Blatty or Blatty?
Blatty. I said it wrong. Made by the same people, whereas The Exorcist 2 has nothing to do with anything. They weren't involved. Linda Blair's in it, and it is sort of a supposed sequel.
It's horrible. I mean, it's just horrible. It's so... But it feels like horrible acting compared to the first one, too.
The third Exorcist, because Blatty was involved, because Friedkin was involved, and the book stands up, too. So the book is the direct sequel to The Exorcist. Legion is the name of the book for anybody that's wondering. And it is a great story because it's like, you know, this serial killer that can jump bodies in time and all that stuff. It's almost kind of like the movie. There's a movie with Denzel Washington, John Goodman, where it's like a killer that can jump through bodies. What's the name of that?
Sliver. No. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Not Thinner. Something, man.
Fallen.
Yes.
That's a good movie.
That's fucking scary,
dude.
Though.
I could watch that.
Speaking
of, I could watch that.
But like when you're thinking about paranormal stuff, do you consider? So, for example, what's that one movie where they like Premonition? Those kind of movies. You wouldn't really think of them as paranormal, but that's the world that I live in. Like,
right.
I have a lot of weird theories on ghosts and what they actually are, and it all kind of ties to energy, right? So, I mean, it's all the same realm for me.
Yeah, I mean, and so it's like, yeah, I mean, it definitely. But as far as, and not so much movies, but I loved books. Like Stephen King, you know, anything that was related to the paranormal. So Stephen King, or like what's that other guy, Dean Koontz, which is like kind of paranormal-ish stuff. But that's all fiction. But then I like nonfiction, scary stuff too. Amityville Horror.
Oh, yes.
That book terrified me.
That is, yeah. I love
an
that
afternoon,
book.
Sunday one day.
Sunday one day.
Linda had all these hardback books. And
it terrified me
in the dining room, and so I would be, you know, oh my god, yeah, Amityville Horror really got me. But because of I had this love of all that kind of ghost and ghouls and goblins, because of Grandma Reed, because she was just always telling us ghost stories, always telling us witch stories. Always telling us, you know, all kinds of stuff.
I love it. Let's talk about our grandmothers.
But yeah, no, I'm just saying that's how I got into it. So
well, and it's flip sides of the coin for us because my grandmother was also very into the paranormal, but she died when I was like 4. So, well, she was a legendary tarot card reader. In and around the community. Legendary. They even did a write-up in the paper.
About how good she was.
Yeah. The Somerset Daily American or whatever did write-up in...
They're like, there's this scary fucking lady up there in Johnstown, dude. She'll tell you your future.
First of all, she was in Wimber at the time.
Well, there's a scary lady up in Wimber that'll tell you your future.
So what she did...
I picture her being scary looking, though. Let me tell you what I picture.
She's very
I picture like a gypsy, like you would imagine like a
Yeah, she was Irish, though. She was half Irish and half German. I mean, like, she looked nothing like any of that. Nothing.
Right, but I just picture her like as like a stout lady.
No.
No, little tiny lady. Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. I picture her more like a linebacker.
Yeah, no. All of her sons were linebackers. That's for sure. But that came from their dad.
Oh, I'm not psychic, so.
You're not psychic. No, she was, she did carry some weight on her later in life because she drank, right?
Heavily?
Heavily. That was like her downfall. But the reason, what they wrote in the paper about her was that one of her clients called her from California and was like, I will choose to believe you if you can walk me through my home and tell me what my home looks like. And my grandmother told her down to the color of the curtains what her house looked like.
Wow.
So it said in the paper. I don't know because I never knew her. Right. But so I grew up with that kind of air of mystique in my life where when I turned like 12, right, and I'm starting to get ready to rebel because remember I was an anarchist when I was younger. So then it's like that every book that I could take out of the library was on witches and ghosts and all of that. And I had
witches and bitches brew.
Yes.
Bitches brew.
Yes. And I surrounded myself with friends that wanted to like look into that stuff. So it was, from a very early age, I've been kind of really into it.
Well, see, so for me, grandma, I had two older cousins. And, one that was particularly, not that much older, but like 5 or 6 years. So, like, teenager when I'm like a younger kid. And, like, him and all his friends would always come to grandma and she'd be telling them stories. Because they were, like, going around exploring. So I'm just, like, listening to all this, like,
And where you grew up, to be fair, there's so much paranormal history in that area. There's
paranormal history. Welcome to this episode of Paranormal History. Down the lane where my grandma lived, there was a Civil War soldier, and he would walk out every...
Don't tell the whole story like that. I love that story.
I could sit here and just tell Grandma read stories for an hour.
I know. But the fun part about that story is just like murder tourism, we also do ghost tourism. We do movie tourism.
Yeah, we do ghost
tourism. So we've
stuff.
Seen the steps where the Exorcist was.
That's not really, though. That's movie tourism. That's not paranormal.
Movie tourism. But talking about paranormal tourism is we're talking about this story that your grandmother used to tell. And then we took the kids up there to see if we could kind of... The Stillman's...
Oh, you're talking about Steelman Marker. I was talking about at her house. Oh. I was talking about the Civil War soldier that was buried at the bottom of the lane.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, so everybody kept seeing this soldier, multiple people, and they'd be like, who's that standing down there? And...
Wait, at the house that she lived in last or when she was younger?
No, she's lived on the mountain since she was, not down there, not at her home place.
Okay. So at her house.
At her house.
Okay.
They would see it standing down like at the lane or whatever, and then... So they went down there and they were like digging up or whatever. And they supposedly they were digging up and they got to a large rock, like kind of like a marker. And then they heard Pap coming up the lane. So they hurried up and like covered it all up. And that was that. But supposedly they also saw, there was also a story at Penmar Park where when she was a kid, her and Aunt Betty, because you remember, they lived next door.
Shout out to your Texas cousins. We're coming to Austin soon, guys.
They're not down there.
They'll meet us in Austin.
They lived, so the house that she lived in as a kid, though, not her home place, but where she was like, I'm going to say 8 when they moved from there to the mountain. Okay. And then the house that the rest of the way was where Chicken's trailer was. Yeah. And then they bought that house next door when her and Pap got married. But her and Aunt Betty, when they were kids, were down by Penmar Park. And they were running in the woods or whatever. And they seen these other kids. And so they were like running up that way to like see if they could play with them or whatever. And when they got closer, they ran through them and they were like little Indian kids.
Shut your filthy face.
That's what I've been told. So there at that house, the Civil War soldier at the house. But then, no, what you were talking about earlier, Steelman Marker, which is legitimate. You can go. So there's
an actual monument in
between Waynesboro and Emmitsburg.
Yes.
Well, in between Blue Ridge Summit and Emmitsburg.
Yes.
Like kind of outside of Fairfield. It technically, I think, is a Fairfield address.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Who knows? Whatever. Back there somewhere on one of those back roads, that's where my grandma's home place was. And now her grandma lived down the road, lived right there at the crossroads. So there was a Native American trading post with this guy, John Steelman or something or other, and they traded for a while. Well, then something happened and they like cut his head off or scalped him or something. And then supposedly he wandered around like Ichabod Crane as a headless horseman.
He was the original.
And my grandma said that you could hear, like, you would see him and stuff like when she was a kid, when she would be at her grandma's house. Now, speaking of her grandma's house, now her grandmother, her Grandma Hall, the one whose house I'm talking about, Grandma Hall was the one that was supposedly like the source of
all the witchcraftery.
All the witchcraftery. And a couple stories that I heard about Grandma Hall. And Grandma Hall was kind of like your grandma in the sense that she was very much known in the community for being a healer or whatever you want to call it.
Well, here's what's crazy about that too, is that, and we watched that documentary earlier on the Salem Witches, is that these women were religious. Like my grandmother was devout Eastern Orthodox.
And now see, that's not what they...
Well, she was raised Catholic and then she converted to Eastern Orthodox, but it's the same thing. One can get married, one can't.
No, we were sinners.
So wait, your grandmother Hall was not religious?
No. From what I understand,
I thought she read Bible passages.
I mean, not that I remember any stories about that. I'm not going to say that she didn't, but somebody will probably correct me. She might have been religious. Who knows?
All my Barlip family's screaming right now.
Their family, none of those people on that side of the family ever were. You know what I mean? I don't ever remember any of them. Like being
having
a part of
religion.
Yeah.
That's insane. I never heard of that.
Now, Pap's family.
Well, yeah.
But Grandma's family.
But your Pap's family comes from a line of preachers, right?
Right. He was his dad was a preacher. But Grandma's family, I don't ever remember religion being, well, they were like old hillbillies, man. They didn't need that shit. They had real problems. They didn't have food to eat.
Nature was their religion.
Well, but that's what I was getting at is Grandma Hall was really like a healer. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that they probably were religious in the sense of like, you know, people say that they're religious in the sense of like people would say they were religious today, whereas
they didn't go to church every Sunday, but
I'm sure that they
double click the mouse, baby.
I'm sure that they would never tell anybody if they didn't exactly believe that because that's not what you did back then or whatever.
No.
But no, I don't ever remember.
They weren't like devil worshippers.
No, nothing like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there was no real religious side passed down. There was no history.
Could it be that they were part of the ancient pagan tribe that never accepted Christianity?
I mean, they very well could have been.
What's their ancestry? What region are they from?
Germany.
There's some good Germanic like tales. We're gonna have to look that up for next time. There's a lot. That's where
they were Odin worshippers.
That's where folklore comes from. That's where a lot of that shit comes. The fucking Brothers Grimm. That's all fairy tales.
Yeah. German mostly. They were the.
Yeah, my grandmother she was half German,
that
half
old German
Irish.
magic, yeah.
Yeah.
That old German.
Ooh,
they were from somewhere in the Black Forest.
Speaking of old German magic, remember I need a cough syrup recipe, and it comes from the pine trees somehow, and only Germans know how to make it. And I need the recipe, please, and thank you. Remember, Barb was telling us her German mother made that cough syrup, and it was only when certain trees were in season, and it was only certain parts of the tree. It wasn't the bud. It wasn't the sap.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I want to go back and finish
ancient German healing is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I want to get back to Great Grandma here now before I forget this. Don't let me forget, people. The story that I remember most, now, like I said, Great Grandma was not Great Grandma. It was my grandma's grandma. So whatever that is. Three greats. Yeah. Three greats.
The greatest.
It was my grandma's grandma.
The greatest grandma.
I misspoke. I apologize. The greatest grandma. How great was she? The greatest.
As far back as the greats will go.
Grandma Hall. So one time this guy got in a farming accident. Like a piece of farming equipment. I don't know what. Some kind of thing. Ripped him up. I think it was too early to be tractors, so it was probably something pulled back. Yeah. But regardless, he had some kind of real bad injury to his abdomen, and he was like cut up real bad and bleeding. And she told the people, like the other people there, to drag him up into the yard. She had a peach tree there, or a pear tree. Peach or pear, I don't remember which. Definitely one of those two. Definitely a P. She also had a talking crow.
I want a crow so bad.
She had a crow that talked, and it would steal thimbles and stuff, and steal her thimbles and take them and hide them. But regardless of any of that,
I want to teach one to talk.
Yeah, well, this one showed up talking, from what I understand. So somebody else must have had it trained, and it got away, and it came to Grandma Hall.
That's a little spooky too, as far as
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's how powerful.
Maybe
she was.
Another witch sent it to her.
Right. Maybe. Yeah. So anyway, this guy's cut up real bad. They drug him up under the peach pear tree. That's how special that tree was. It grew peaches and pears. Now, and she waved her hand. She did something or whatever, and waved her hand over him. And as she took her hand over him, all the bleeding stopped. And they were able to get him bandaged up and get him to the hospital or whatever. And I guess he lived.
Yeah, she cauterized it with the heat coming out of her hand.
Coming out of her hand with the light. She had a
I believe it.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the story about her.
There was a very similar story about Grandma Barlip. But she read pages from the Bible to do her healing.
I think that's the devil. No, I'm kidding. It's just funny. No, I think that definitely.
I'm friends with Aleister Crowley, so
check out his TikTok.
No, the most healing thing that I've ever heard my grandmother had done was it's an old Irish thing, and it has something to do with potassium. But basically, she took a potato, cut a cross into it.
I've heard of this.
Rubbed it all over my mother's wart. And then the wart fell off a day later or something. Oh, my mom had to bury the potato then. Bury it. So I don't know.
With her firstborn. And then the wart went away. That's how serious those people took warts.
Well, I'm her firstborn that I know of, so.
That's what you think.
Rumple potato skins took the other one.
Yeah. You never met Sarah.
Statistically, it's a boy, so
you never met
my brother Nick.
Right, yeah.
God, I'm starting rumors. I've done all the DNA tests. What were we talking about? Oh,
some healing
powers of our grandmothers.
Right, healing powers of grandmothers.
Yes. So then, so I went through this phase. And now I think I want to get back in. No, I'm joking. So I decided to study. So my whole family is crazy. So not Miami Mike, but my Uncle Al. he believed...
Al Bundy?
No, Al Skabowski.
Al Bundy. Al Skabowski?
Yeah, Al Skabowski.
Al Skabowski.
Al Skibo.
No,
he firmly believed, and I probably have some old emails printed out, that he could, what's that called when you leave your body while you're sleeping?
Astral project.
Astral project.
Yeah, my grandma believed that she could too. She told me some stories.
Yeah.
I don't know. I take all this with a grain of salt. I don't know.
I know,
mean, in the sense of like, some of the things are weird that they tell you. Like, so it's like, I don't know what to think.
Right. It's like, well, and that's a perfect segue into what I was about to say about all that. Hold on, I got something on me. Is that, so I decided to study self-hypnosis. And basically the whole gist of self-hypnosis was later revealed in 3 wonderful movies called The Matrix, 1, 2, and 3. But it's like the power of your subconscious mind to hold thought. So you can think something with your conscious, but your subconscious could also be thinking at the same time. And you cannot do something that's out of sync with your subconscious. So when you're practicing self-hypnosis, you try to move a ball. And you're trying to get your subconscious mind to, as much as you could tell yourself all day long, I can move this ball. But until you get your subconscious mind to believe that you're moving the ball, it will stop the ball from moving. Right. And I've done it. Like, I've seen the ball wiggle. And then as soon as like my subconscious kicks in and it's like, that's not real, it stop moving. So then
kind of like the floor in Poltergeist.
That's exactly it. Like, it's all kind of interrelated. All the energies, all the things. I think they're all controlled by our brain somehow, and we just don't really know what we're doing.
Right. That's the thing, is I just don't think we have a full understanding of how everything works. So
right. And like, so like,
some things seem crazy.
Right.
When in reality,
what did people think rain was
not in reality.
10,000 years ago?
Water falling from the sky.
Right. But did they think that it was the gods pissing on them?
They thought it was Jesus' tears.
They did. They probably did. They probably told their kids it was Jesus'
That's
tears.
God crying.
Yeah.
God crying. Thunder. God bowling.
Yeah.
Lightning. That's God doing something. He's angry.
He's angry. You just sounded like Saul when you said that. God's angry at me.
What else, though? There was other things. Rainbows. God loves you.
Right, exactly.
What else? Everything was God.
Until science had a definition for it.
Yeah, just look at the gods of like older religion, like, Greek stuff and all that. They have like a God for everything. Right. Everything that nature does, they had a God for it.
Right.
And over time, we got, back to grandma's.
Back to grandma's. Where were we?
Your grandma was known as she did the wart thing, basically.
Oh, that was the most healing thing she did, was the healing of my mother's wart. But like I said, she was renowned. So here's what happened, though, is there were people who, after my grandmother died, there were people in my mom's extended family and other people in my mom and dad's circle, because they had a lot of friends when we were younger that they ran around with, that all had a reading from my grandmother or knew somebody that had a reading from my grandmother. So like, my hair's doing crazy shit. Sorry. So like, it's my uncle's sister-in-law. Every time she sees me, she just grabs my hands and tells me, I know you have the gift. And it's funny because I don't like talking about it, like, unless I'm in a very close and private setting of people that I love, because I do have some type of intuition, and I never honed the skills. So it works when it wants to. It doesn't when it doesn't. And it zaps my energy because I'm also bipolar and partially probably autistic. So like, it just drains everything out of me to do a reading. But I love doing them when I'm on. And I've been successful at doing readings before. I mean,
Right,
like,
right.
I've I've never, like, whatever comes out of my mouth, I don't like pre-think it. I just let whatever's going to come out of my mouth come out of my mouth. And sometimes it's not made sense to the person. Sometimes it's been so descriptive that I made the person cry. Like, and then I feel like a counselor, which I never wanted to be. So.
Well, I mean, that's part of what that is, though. I think that goes hand in hand. You can't tell people about their life. You can't tell people about their life and not, you know what I mean? You're telling them personal details. Of course, it kind of becomes almost like a therapy type thing.
Right. But the problem with that kind of therapy is that a lot of people walk in and they have something very specific that they want to know about their future. Well, first of all,
or going on in their life.
Psychics don't technically predict the future.
That's clairvoyance.
Right. Is
it? No, I'm just saying, I don't know.
When you see something.
We talked about this.
Yeah, there's like different ones. Yeah. Clairaudient, clairsentient,
I should have looked those up.
I know.
Next time.
I have the nose one.
Next episode.
So like I have a hypersensitive nose. I can smell smells that were there in history. One time I smelled your grandmother in my car.
Well, yeah.
That was insane. And it was at that's the other thing I want to bring up too, is that if you think about it, and they try to say that this only happens with poltergeists, but when paranormal activity happens, there are heightened emotions.
I was getting ready to say, it seems to be triggered by heightened emotions of any kind. It doesn't really matter. Like, it just feeds off that.
But you can tie it right into The Secret, which is my favorite book of all time ever. And it's not because the people that wrote it were brilliant. The Secret has been around since the dawn of time. People have understood that positive thoughts lead to positive things. And it's the intent behind your thoughts and all this, that, and the other. But you can't get the secret to work without the energy of your emotions behind it. You have to attach emotions and feelings and feel what you want, not just say what you want. Because if you're detached, again, you're subconscious. If you're detached, it just doesn't work out in your favor, or you get what you don't want because it just hears the words, the universe, it being the universe. So all that wrapping around to what we were just talking about is,
our grandmothers.
Right.
And you doing readings.
Is that in doing a reading, I'm getting the person's emotional energy at the moment. Like I'm feeling their emotional energy.
Right.
And when I feel...
You're reading them.
Yes. And when I feel despair, it's like... I can't even, it drains the shit out of me. A lot of it's fun though. I like doing it when people are drunk at parties because their expectations are different. They're giddy. They just want to know if they're getting laid later.
Right.
Those are fun. I can do those.
Right.
But if they want to know what the next 5 years of their life is going to be, or should they dump their current boyfriend, that's not what I do.
Right. Yeah, what the hell did I don't even remember.
I know, there's so much to talk about.
But going into personal stories, I'll share my one personal, I've gone looking a lot. We talked about that, a lot of ghost hunts, a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've heard weird noises, had some weird experiences, but nothing really nothing that you haven't seen on an episode of Ghost Hunters. Nothing so crazy that I'm like, this is, unbelievable.
Right.
But so we lived in Waynesboro on South Potomac Street. I had been here the one night I was home by myself, and I kept hearing this old timey music. And I looked everywhere for this. And I upstairs, downstairs, in the basement. I walked outside. I wouldn't hear it anymore, but I could hear it from inside the house. I asked the neighbors if they were no, they didn't have anything like that going on. But it was like the old, ragtime,
And the house closest to us on that side of the house was abandoned.
So there was nobody on that side of us. So it wasn't like I said, though, when I walked outside, I couldn't hear it. Well, I didn't tell anybody about it because I just chalked it up to whatever. And then we were sitting there with our daughter, talking about she had seen something weird upstairs or heard something. I don't remember the exact scenario. And you brought up that you'd been hearing old-timey music. And I started crying immediately because I was that scared, because I was like, what is happening right now? But I mean, we never did find the source of it, but that freaked me out big time.
Yeah, it was definitely like, it felt like a party was going on in the 1940s and you just couldn't get close to it.
Right. There was a speakeasy in the walls.
Right in the walls. Oh, God. I love that kind of stuff, though. My scariest story is a little tiny bit longer, and it's the scariest one. I mean, we all have a million, right? But this one is the scariest one ever for me. And that's why I wanted to foreshadow the whole emotional part of this. So I was living by myself with the kids on North Grant Street. And at the time, I was going through a divorce from my first husband. And we were like on again, off again, because I was young and stupid and I had 2 kids, right? Mm. So whatever. But he was a serial cheater. So he would leave and come back, and he had the key to my apartment, but it was my apartment. I was working, I was paying my own bills, whatever. But every once in a while he would show up because that's just what we did. So, but I was so angry and emotional and just probably had some postpartum. And I was reading Anne Rice at the time, and I was reading the Mayfair Witches series, which is intense. And so the character in the Mayfair Witches is Lasher, and he's like some type of
slasher. No, I'm kidding.
No. But he's like some kind of demon or ghost, or I don't even know what he is.
He's an entity of some kind.
He's some type of paranormal,
otherworldly entity.
Yes. And his whole thing is that he like attaches to the women in this family of witches and does their bidding for them. Mm. And that's how the family stayed rich. Worst. I know, right?
Bidding is the worst, especially if you got a demon doing it for you, buddy.
So me being a dumb fucking 20-year-old, stupid, naive dummy decides that I'm going to call upon Lasher to do my bidding because I thought I was a witch. So, heightened emotional state, doing spells in my house. Ooh. Yeah. All the bad shit. So I go to sleep one night, and Anth was in his room and Olivia was in her crib. So like they were like the entryway into their rooms was like off to my left. It was like just through the next door, and then the bathroom was behind my head. And I'm laying there, and I thought I had just fallen asleep, and I heard my door open up, and I heard click, 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 because ex-husband wore cowboy boots, right? So,
oops.
No, I thought it was the cowboy boots. Felt ex-husband sit on the bed, and I was like, you know what? This motherfucker is getting here a little late tonight. I'm not even going to entertain him. I'm going to just keep my back to him and ignore him like he can just go to sleep,
Bad
right?
News.
Felt the weight of him laying down on the bed. I turn to lay on my back, and I am now pinned with the weight of 1,000 people on me. Like I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. I was terrified. And all I saw was this black mist, but in the shape of a humanish, hovering above me. Now, they're referred to as what? Night paralysis or sleep paralysis.
I mean, that's similar to what you're saying, but that doesn't involve entities and stuff.
Well, so I was like, I couldn't say. I was like, Anth, like just trying to get my son to hear me. By the grace of God, I couldn't even hear my own words saying it. He got out of bed, fucking cute as can be in his little pajamas, sucking his thumb, dragging his blanket behind him, crawls up in bed with me and says, Mom, what's wrong? I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then like the thing flew up to the ceiling and was gone. I've never been more terrified, right?
I bet.
And then for the whole next week, there was a tree right outside my kitchen window filled with starlings. Just constant.
I thought you were going to say it was tapping on the window like a
No. Starlings. And then like a day after the starlings came, there was a whole episode on Ricky Lake of paranormal shit. And I was like a
Ricky Lake fanatic.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I worked in the evenings, so like during the day, I like laid around and just watched fucking talk TV all day.
Yeah, I mean, well, there was nothing else on.
I mean, the kids were young; they were like 2 and 3. So
shout out Montel Williams.
We would do crafts, in the living room while I was watching Ricky Lake and Montel. What up? No,
Montel always had psychics on there.
Sylvia Brown.
Yeah,
I was obsessed with her, and I was so sad that some of her stuff was debunked. I still feel like. So again, this is not like you can just turn it off and turn it on. Some psychics, I believe, are very psychic. And I think that they get to a point where they have so much fame that they feel like they have to be on all the time. And so they make shit up.
Right. I mean, right. Both things can be true. Right. They can both be psychic and full of shit.
Right. That's exactly it.
I'm going to guess that psychics are like every other group of people. 90% fucktards. 10% good. Legitimate,
good, real deal. And I would venture to guess that even Tyler Henry doesn't have 100% successful readings every single time.
Who could?
Right.
What are you doing? Anything that you do, you're not. Even the best football players aren't good 100% of the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Every skill that you have is never going to be always on.
Right.
I mean...
Right. And that's another reason why. So, I mean, there was probably about 10 years ago, you were in very grave danger of being the husband of another Teresa Caputo. Because I'd just walk up to people and start talking to them, never telling them that I was psychic. But when I feel somebody's energy that's off, I like to try to make them happy or say something nice or give like a little... And a lot of times that like I get like in return, like I really needed that right in this moment. And I feel that. I'm getting a little emotional even saying it, but because I just remembered when this episode is going to drop.
Oh, right.
Speaking of psychics.
Speaking of mediums.
Yes.
Speaking of mediums specifically. There's a little tiny hamlet in New York State called Lilydale, New York. We first saw it on an HBO documentary. Mm-hmm. Go check it out. It's on Max. Lilydale.
I think it's just called Lilydale, right?
Yeah, I think it's just called Lilydale. But it's a town that formed after the spiritualist movement back in the, like, Western New York was very, like, that's like where Mormonism comes from. From like 1850 to like 1900, there was a lot of like, that's where the Seventh-day Adventists came from, Mormonism,
Christian Science. That's what
spiritualists. That's what I was trying to get.
But
I thought Christian Science was like Indiana or something.
Well, so the Lilydale Assembly is a Christian-based assembly, but they're not universal Unitarianism. That's not what they are. They're a Christian sect, that's open to
That's how the spiritualist movement was. Mm-hmm. They believe in communication with spirits, yada yada yada.
Yes,
Lilydale is the world. I mean, maybe it's not anymore, but during the time of the documentary, I'm sure it still is. A town with the world's highest concentration of psychic mediums living in one town.
Yes.
I mean, that's basically all the town is that.
Right. Like, in order to live there, you must be a member of the Lilydale Assembly, right. And then you can buy a house there because it's like an HOA, basically. And it's so quaint. It feels very, there's a lot of Victorian mansions there.
It almost feels like a
time capsule. It does.
Like Frontier Town, but like... Of a different era. But it puts you in the mind of like a town that's set up to be like it's from whatever. But they also have like a lot of history there about the spiritualist movement through the ages, yada, yada, yada. But you can go there and learn stuff. You can you can talk to the different psychics, but they have, I don't remember, like twice a day we'll say they have 2 services where you go to like this big outdoor church kind of thing.
I like to refer to it as a grotto. Like, that's what it feels like. It's an outdoor, it's in a grove.
The things are made out of with the trees.
Right.
It's also located in like one of the oldest old growth forest in the in the eastern United States.
Oh, okay.
Right, because out west they got all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So in the eastern United States, it's one of the oldest old growth forests.
So if you're like,
and these trees are humongous and they're beautiful.
If you're
that's
a tree
where this
hugger,
is.
you're like in your glory.
It's in this forest. It's kind of magical.
It's very magical because it's all very natural. The homes don't look modern, so they blend right into the setting. It sits on the tip of Lake Erie, so it's on a lake.
It's on a lake, but not Lake. It's like 100 miles inland from Lake Erie. That lake is called
Casadegua.
No, I'll have to look it up. But it sits on a lake, a smaller lake.
But it's just like so. It feels like you should be walking around in like the 1800s dresses and parasols. There.
That's exactly right. It feels like I should have a top. Good day, sir.
Yes.
How you doing there, little Chucky?
Yes. And
top of the morning,
there's so much to do there. So they have like events all the time. They have seminars. They have drum circles. They have spiritual, like just services, like anything you could think of. They have 1 or 2 bed and breakfasts there. You can camp there if you are into primitive camping.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So anyways, it's a really
I guess
cool
all that
spot.
still applies. It's been a few years since we checked it out.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously do your own research. But we went there.
And so let me give you the preface is that on September 19th, which is today's date, only 14 years ago, no, it's not today's date. It's the date that this is dropping.
Going to be released.
My Atlanta baby.
I was like, damn.
My son, who was 16 at the time, passed away in a car accident, we'll call it. And so that was a super highly charged, obviously emotional time in our lives. I do have a TikTok video if you want to learn how mushrooms healed from that. But so how long after Anth died did we go up to Lilydale? It was a couple years.
So I'll tell you exactly when it was. It was 2016 because we went to see Ghostbusters first, the female one.
Yeah, we did. Oh, right. Because this crazy lady was like, hey guys, we're going to the drive-in movie. And then by the way, as soon as we pull out, we're driving to New York. So
we went up there and we went to I forget what they called it, but like the gathering at night, like they did in the evening. And we went to that, and at these, so they'll just have a couple of mediums that will read people in the crowd.
Cold read from the crowd.
Cold read people from the crowd. And some of them were amazing. Some of them were like, holy shit. These people are really good.
Yeah.
Some of them weren't so good.
Right.
You know what I mean? Some of them were way off. Like the people would be like, no, there's nothing.
Some of them were very generalized.
And there's a few hundred people at one of these. I'm going to say like 200 people sitting in this. Maybe not that many. Maybe like 150. But regardless, it's a pretty good sized crowd. So they might do 10 to 15 in one of these sessions.
Right.
So you might not even get read. We had been to several.
Yeah, there was 3 throughout the day, and this was the last one of the day.
Right, and we hadn't gotten any kind of attention.
None.
Throughout the whole thing at all. And there was a lady who we believe is now the head of the whole thing now.
Yeah, she's like the president of the Lilydale Assembly.
But she was just visiting from Ohio.
Is her name Amanda?
Yeah.
Amanda Cook, maybe, or something.
I have no idea what her last name was.
I'm sorry, Amanda. We'll tag you in the episode so you can get some cred.
So she was just...
She was newer at the time.
She was visiting there. She wasn't
visiting.
She wasn't someone that lived there. She was just visiting from Ohio, I believe. And you take it from here.
Well, I don't even know what to say. So
It was you, me, and Dakota.
Yeah, the three of us were sitting together, and God. So she zoned in on us, and she said that she's seen a man around us. And we kind of looked at each other because, Dakota wouldn't have had anybody at that point.
No, we didn't think that. We were wondering who the man was. It wasn't.
We were
what she was saying didn't really make sense.
Right.
Initially.
And then she's like, oh, hold on a second. She's like, it's not a man, it's a man-child, which my son was probably about 5'10", probably went about...
He might even been 6 foot by that point.
6 foot.
He was a big kid.
Yeah. And
big kid.
Yeah. And he went like 250 pounds, probably solid. Like he was just hulking. And so when she said a man-child, we like kind of looked at each other and we were like, I can't.
And so she was sitting, and then she's like, I see him putting his arms around you, and he's joking around, and he's talking about skateboarding, and he's talking about, I don't remember all the specific
how we
things.
Knew for sure, it was because when Anth died, he was running around with some skater kids. And she said, he's on a skateboard, but he's not very good. And that was very, he was so clumsy. No, that was
right.
So yeah. And so like, if I never ever had experienced any psychic thing in my life, like that would have made me be a believer. Like fucking, it was crazy.
And I don't remember what else she said, but something else like hit bad, like real heavy. He said something. She was like, he said something, and I don't remember what it was. But I remember it hit like a ton of bricks. Yeah. It was like something about like he was supposed to go this way.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That this was the way it was supposed to happen. But also that he was running around hugging other people too, which would have been him.
Right. Yeah. It was just very good and obviously we still talk about it today. We still get choked up about it.
Yeah. Well, today's the anniversary, or like not today physically, but when we drop this episode, it is going to be the 14th anniversary of his death. So as you can see,
that's crazy. It's been that long.
It still hits us. Yeah. But so that was probably the craziest psychic experience we've ever had. Yeah. What else is on my list?
Well, mediumship.
Mediumship. No, so I'll tell that other story real quick. So I don't believe I'm a medium. I don't think that I get things from the other side. You're not talking to dead people. No, I'm not talking to dead people. I get very heavy intuitions about things. But remember when we were out, were you with me in Gettysburg when I read for that couple?
No.
So I was out at my girlfriend's house in Gettysburg, which we can talk about Gettysburg for a whole nother 2 hours. I mean, holy shit.
Right. Cause we
got married in Gettysburg. Gettysburg's our spot. But, so I was reading for this couple, and it was a gay couple, and they were getting ready to move to Texas. And the kid just wanted he wanted some affirmation that moving to Texas is the right thing. So these guys are both military. And obviously at this time, this was like 2016, being gay in the military was acceptable, but maybe not. These guys were both buff. One was a lawyer, right? So they were like, they were so just loving, beautiful people, but gorgeous, sexy gays, if you ask me. And they just had everything going on for them, right? They were even Republicans, which I didn't understand at the time, but I do now. So he wanted affirmation because he wanted to start a business, and he wanted to start a personal training business when they got to Texas. And that was too much information for me. I don't like having that much information going into a reading, but I went in and I was like, okay. But I was trying to like get a feel for the cards. And my brain wouldn't let me because I just kept seeing this woman standing over. So you remember the beds we all had when we were like 7, 8, they were like wooden,
bunk beds.
The wooden frame bunk beds that had the ball tops. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they all look like old wood. Yeah.
Exactly.
Everybody knows what you're talking about.
Well, it was that with like a quilt that was like from the 70s maybe. And I saw this little boy laying in bed. He was probably about 9 or 10. And I saw a woman standing over him, and it was like she was screaming at him to wake up, but like nothing was coming out of her mouth. Mm-hmm. Like she was so mad that she couldn't get through to him. He started bawling when I explained this to him and explained the woman to him, the one I was seeing. And he's like, that makes so much sense to me. That's everything I need. That's my affirmation. Oh, I'm so emotional. So it does happen. It happens in little spurts. But that was his grandmother that I saw, and she was dead. And she was also Native American, which is really powerful, to have somebody like that.
They are powerful.
So, yeah. But anyways, what else is on the list?
But no, we're talking about.
You got a story to tell that is on the list.
What?
I don't know if you can tell it without getting emotional.
What story?
Devil Bill.
Why is that emotional?
Didn't like a whole bunch of people that you knew die after that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that did happen. But...
Hi, I jumped to the punchline. Sorry.
So...
Push that my way.
Right. So when we were kids, one of the places that my grandma told us about was this place out in Jack's Mountain called Devil Bill's. Devil Bill, I don't know the whole story behind it. There was this old house. He was a really mean guy. I don't know. I don't really remember the backstory of why Devil Bill was so bad, but the townspeople hated him.
The devil.
He bathed in poop. He did bad things.
He ate poop sandwiches.
He did eat poop. He ate poop sandwiches.
I hate when you say it.
He ate poop sandwiches.
I don't know why that makes it grosser.
Poopy.
When he says poopy, but it makes it grosser.
But so me and my friends all went out to Devil Bill's one night. And there was probably like 6 of us. And we were playing with a Ouija board, whatever, just messing around. This cops came. We had to leave. We didn't get in trouble, but we had to leave. And we made a video of this whole thing. So when we got home, like a couple days later, we were watching this videotape. Oh, my friends called me. They're like, you're not going to believe what's on this tape. So we go to watch this tape. And in the bushes behind us when we're doing the Ouija thing, you could see this guy's face, what looked like a guy's face. And so my friend had this videotape at his house. His dad asked him what was going on because all this weird stuff started happening to like electronics and stuff like that. And he thought something was weird. So when they went to watch the tape again, it was erased. Well, then my friend, within 2 years,
it's the original.
Well, within like 2 months of that,
The Grudge.
That kid died in a car accident, and then later his dad died shortly after that, or his brother died. His brother committed suicide, and then his dad died. So within like 2 years or whatever, they were all dead. And I think it was the tape.
The original Grudge.
It was the Grudge. Yeah, you're right. The original Grudge. But that was very scary. It could have been possibly related to other things, but so that's why it's not quite as like eerie, I would say.
That story terrified me when you first told it.
Really?
It did.
Yeah, see, I don't think it's that terrifying because I don't attribute it to the tape. That's why. It was very weird, but I don't think the tape got him.
So, but now we can kind of bring up a couple other things, which is Miller's Church. Right?
Oh, my goodness. We've had many a time back then. That's what I'm saying. We've been on so many ghosts.
Well, we had to get the aunt story out of the way to tell the whole Miller's Church story, which is not out of the way. I love my son.
Franklin County, Washington County, Maryland, Franklin County, Pennsylvania. We've done about every Adams County, Pennsylvania. We've done about every ghost hunt that you can do.
Yeah. We haven't done No.
Even part of Frederick County, Maryland.
We haven't done Cashtown, though. That's on my bucket list, is the Cashtown Inn. I would like to do like a real paranormal.
Well, I didn't mean necessarily Gettysburg, because that you could do that every day
and not get
for
all of it
100 years and not get all of it in.
I mean, we did like the ghost walks and stuff. They're all cool. We've been to a couple different ghost walks over the years.
And we've been to places that our friends like have taken us to and told us about.
Ooh.
Just like Saks Covered Bridge.
Yeah, Saks Covered Bridge. That was awesome. The scene of one of the many weddings that he's failed to. No,
that one didn't last long at all, though.
Sorry. Sorry, you know who you are, but your mom's seen it coming.
It don't matter.
Your mom called it. Sorry.
That's what I'm there for. I'll do another one for you. Let me know when the next one's coming around. I'll do that one too. I'm not one of these people that I don't view it as some crazy.
Well, they are doing a gender reveal here coming up.
Well,
but I don't know if we're going to make that. You don't do gender reveals.
I don't do christenings.
Christen the gender. But what I don't know the name of that pizza place now, but there's a pizza place down on York Street that used to be the Moose.
Now that's some ghosts I could get behind, buddy. I could some ghosts back. Phantom tossing pizzas. Phantom pepperoni smells in the air. Who's cooking stromboli? Oh, that's the ghost.
No, but seriously,
I love ghost stromboli.
That building is huge and old, and I don't know what it was before it was the Moose.
Oh, you're talking about the Moose.
Yes. Yeah. But like, so you walk in the front and it's a huge bar, but off to the left was the kitchen. There was a bowling alley, but there was a dumbwaiter in that dark ass hall.
Dumbwaiters are the devil.
Fucking terrifying.
The devil's playground. Dumbwaiters are the devil's playground.
And so... Then you walk through the bar and there was a convention hall, like a big event space with a huge stage. And in order to lock up at night, you had to go...
Turn around 3 times, hail Satan.
Yes. You had to go back through the stage, get up onto the stage in the dark, and shut the bolts on the back doors. Well, so one night it was just me and my friend Justin fucking sitting there.
No, thank you.
And I was like, I'm going to close the back doors, watch the front. He runs his fucking little groundhog ass the whole way around the back of the building. And I get to the back doors and go to lock them. And I hear this. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. That was fucking terrifying. I never wanted to close the Moose again. I mean, we're talking Gettysburg. Luckily, I had friends that would stay and close with me, but I did not trust nary one of them after that ever. And the dumbwaiter, I did hear it move sometimes when I was there by myself, and I fucking hated it. Hated it. That place was scary.
Did it ever deliver the devil?
To my knowledge?
Yes.
No.
It brought the devil and a trip around the kitchen.
Ooh.
With the best bologna you'll ever eat.
The best bologna.
Shout out Booker's Meats. McKnightstown.
Yes.
Right outside of Gettysburg. It is my favorite butcher shop. But they make this bologna there that'll
Don't talk about the bologna.
The bologna will blow your fucking socks off.
Don't talk about it. They'll run out of it.
Shh. The bologna will blow your fucking socks off.
Their bologna is in the Gilded Trash Hall of Fame.
I mean, it's the best bologna. Like, oh my God. I don't even want to. Don't talk about it anymore.
Well, since you brought up food, though, what is your favorite thing that you look forward to?
On a ghost hunt? Skittles.
Oh, no. Every Halloween time, right around Halloween, there's a resurgence of a very popular food product.
Count Chocula, Frankenberry, Boo Berry.
Now they got this new bitch. I don't know.
I don't like caramella. I don't want caramel flavored cereal. No, thank you.
I don't like any of that.
But they did have they got the fruit monster, the wolf, the fruit. I don't know what it is. Something.
Fruity mummies.
No, the mummy is Frankenberry.
I don't know what they are.
But there's another one, the fruit wolf or something like that. The fruit wolf will get you.
Yeah.
Fruit wolf. I want a shirt that says Fruit Wolf.
And you've become quite the pumpkin carver over the years.
I have become quite the pumpkin carver.
I was going to make him carve one and put it on the
dais. But speaking of haunted cereals, I once had a box of grape nuts. And it haunted me until the day I died. No.
We are still alive, so it must still be haunting you. Why would grape nuts haunt you?
I don't know. I was just being silly.
Oh, you are silly.
Well, back to you were talking about McKnightstown. I mean, you were talking about Cashtown. You're talking about all the areas around Gettysburg. What you forgot that we were talking about is Miller's Church.
Oh my God, Miller's Church.
So Miller's Church is this place outside of Hagerstown. Supposedly there's a lot of local legends. You can go research it for yourself because we don't know nobody knows what the exact story is. Everybody's been told there was devil worship, this and that, but I actually tried to dig into some of the history back when I was in high school.
It's all word of mouth.
And it's all word of mouth. There was no real definitive things, although I will say that the founder of the church, when I looked him up in the Franklin County Biological Index, which tracks every person ever born in Franklin County throughout history, he's born in the 17-somethings. He was on page 666.
Shut your filthy. You lie.
No, he was. We had it in the video. That was Blair Witch. When I was in high school, Blair Witch came out. And in journalism class, you were like making a little documentary about something scary. And me and my friend, also named Justin, did Miller's Church. We talked to my grandma. We did, you know what I mean? We went out there. But we did a lot of history research into the area. And that's when I found that the founder of the church, Jacob Miller, was on page 666 of the 1790 edition. No, I don't have it, whatever, of the Franklin County Biological Index.
That's insane.
But we actually chickened out of going out there. We went out in the daytime. We did full investigation. We chickened out at night when we went out. We went out there and got scared, left, went back to my mom's house to shoot the scenes in the woods. And lucky for us, we were like pretending like to be scared. But there was an entire flock of turkeys surrounding us in the pine trees, and they all took off at once
and scared the
ever living daylights out of it. I don't know if you ever heard a flock of turkeys take off, but it sounds like a goddamn engine.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
40 turkeys flapping their wings. Oh, man.
I love it. So I actually had an experience at Miller's Church when I was younger. A bunch of us rode out there, and to be fair, I had an old Dodge something or other. Like, it wasn't the best of cars. We're just going to say that.
Right.
So it could have really been car trouble. Who knows? But there was a story that if you go out to Miller's Church and get up to right before you come down the hill to where the cemetery would be on your right, if you turn your lights off, that a car would come speeding up and just plow through.
The Devil's Dragon.
Yeah, like it was like a hearse, allegedly, or whatever, and it would just drive through you. So
Ghost Train.
We turned the car off, and then the car would not turn back on. And it was the scariest thing. And the radio turned on, and it was doing that like fuzzy shit. Hold on. So we pushed the car out into like a farmer's lane to get it off the road, and we started walking down the road. So this guy comes out, and he's in a truck, and he's like coming out of his driveway, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And we're like, "Our car broke down back there." And he's like, "Were you back at Miller's Church?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he's like,
"I'm Miller." He's
like, "I'm the ghost of Miller's Church." He was like, "No, I'm just joking. I'll give you guys a ride." But he wanted me to sit up front, and it was a truck with one cab, and there was like
try to touch you.
So I made my friend Brian get in the front seat with us and sit in the middle.
Brian instead.
I made Brian get in the middle, and when he got to the end of the lane,
Brian's never been the same. No.
What's the main road there, Leitersburg Pike? When he got out to Leitersburg Pike, they all just jumped out of the back, and I was like, "Well." And swung the door open and jumped out. I was so fucking scared.
So it's funny you say that, though, because the story that one of the stories that Grandma used to tell about one night that Pap came home drunk, and, they would leave when he would come home that drunk. And they took my Uncle Bo's gremlin, I believe.
Oh, my God.
But back then, here's the story, though. You could park. You could pull into where the church was. And
they got it chained off now.
Yeah. You could pull up into the thing. And it's fenced off now.
Yeah.
It's like there's the road thing. Mm-hmm. You could pull in there. But anyway, something happened. They all got scared. They went to leave and their doors were all locked and the car wouldn't start.
I hate that.
And then eventually they did get out of there, obviously, because they're all still with us. But
right, but
or not all of them, but they didn't die that day.
But it just begs the question, because again, it was Grandma and 3 teenage boys, right?
No, it was Grandma, an adult man. Bo was in his 20s.
Oh.
Dad was older too, so they might have both been adults.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like.
Young men.
Young and probably emotional and heightened emotion because you're thinking of ghosts and trying to be scared and all that. Like, I mean,
they used to go back there all the time.
I think that's what happened in my car, though, is that everybody was just like freaked the fuck out. And then it just.
And that makes cars shut off.
And it just like zapped the energy out of it. That makes cars shut off.
Yeah. It sure enough does. Well, then we had our own experience out there.
Oh, God. I don't
even remember, like...
I know exactly when it was. It was 2017. It was the week between 4th of July and my birthday. And so Anth would have been gone 7 years at this point. And we were out riding around and I was just thinking about him, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And when we do that, like I have his funeral CD that we play. We listen to all his songs.
Right.
And, I wanted to go up to the cemetery, but it was starting to get dark, and the farmers that live up there, they get a little pissy when
they get pissy. They're Mennonites. They're Mennonites, and you know how they get, boy. They'll come out and get you.
But so I didn't want to fool around with all that, so we were like, okay, let's just go out riding around Miller's Church, and I don't even know, like I don't know if we slowed down or if we stopped. Stop moving the table.
It was not like, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, my camera was going like this. But I felt somebody kick the back of my seat.
Right.
And I was like, babe, we have a passenger. Let's go. But we were talking about Anth that whole night. So I don't know what led us to believe it was Anthony.
But something else happened. I don't remember. That we were like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was definitely, like, we, like, heard or saw somebody sitting back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And, like, it was very weird.
Oh, I know exactly what it was. So we road trip all the time. Do not judge us. But there was trash on the back floor of the vehicle. And it sounded like somebody was back there kicking the trash around to get their feet settled. That's exactly what it was. And
I remember we saw somebody sitting back there too, though.
Yeah, like...
You definitely... There was like a spectral image.
That's the whole thing is I'm scared to death to look in the rearview mirror when we're traveling to see if there's anything behind me, because I swear to Christ there's somebody behind me like 40% of the time.
Like the old scary stories to tell in the dark. Speaking of paranormal, that was a book that I was scared to read, because that book came out when I was like... in first grade.
What was it?
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like a collection of ghost stories.
Yes.
And, oh, buddy, was I terrified. I didn't even want to read it. I was like, I didn't even want to read Bloody Mary. That's how scared I was of it. Because it had a thing in there. You've already said it once.
Bloody Mary.
Biggie Smalls, Biggie Smalls, Biggie Smalls.
I love that episode.
It's so good.
I could totally watch that. Mm-hmm. Bloody Mary. So...
Oh, I used to try that, buddy, and I'd be scared shitless.
Well, I mean, so that's the thing is, like, we all grew up in the age of Bloody Mary, Candyman.
Candyman. We grew up in the golden age of like horror movies and stuff of ghosts being talked about in movies, TV shows, books. So, like, that was very much a part of...
It was our pop culture. Yeah. Very much a part of our pop culture. Yeah. So, like, Ouija boards, obviously. Yeah. Like, me and my friends used to mess with Ouija boards all the time. And sorry, guys, hate to burst your bubble, but I was the one moving it 90% of the time because I just wanted to scare the shit out of you guys. Amber, Susie, if you're listening, it was me. There was never a guy who died on a motorcycle. I made that whole story up, but it was fun. So, oh my God, I used to make shit up all the time. So that's the thing is when I was younger, I used to pretend that I was more psychic than I was. Dog. I know. I used to pretend that I was psychic.
You dirty dog.
I mean, I am kind of psychic, but not then. And what else did we used to do? Oh, light as a feather, stiff as a board. No, I think if I recall, you never had heard of that one before.
No, but I feel like, is that the one they did that movie?
Yeah, you like.
I mean, I think I had heard of it, but like never knew anybody that did it.
We've done that so many times and it works. And I don't know what it is, but you have to have like 2 or 3 people on each side of a person. And you just stick your 2 fingers right up under the person. And you start chanting light as a feather, light as a feather, stiff as a board.
They don't like it. No.
You can pick them up like that. It's crazy.
Pick them up.
I've seen it done. I've been there. I've done it. It's so easy. They become light as feather. I don't know what it is. It's like some kind of crazy psychic phenomenon.
No, I know. Well, that's the other thing, too. I'm sitting here thinking of all these stories because, I literally could talk 2 hours with Grandma Reed stories. But let's talk a little bit about ghost hunting TV shows. Because...
Do we have to?
No, we don't have to.
Yeah, no, that's
because at a certain point, there was never ghost hunting. Before ghost hunters... You might hear about it at historical places, people doing these things. But like before the movie Ghostbusters, like
ghost hunting wasn't real. I mean, yeah, like
you had people like Ed and Lorraine Warren, but that wasn't ghost hunting. They were helping people
to get rid of ghosts.
Like to get rid of ghosts or whatever, which is a little bit different.
I love the Warrens.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole nother diatribe. But so when Ghost Hunters came out, it was like, oh my goodness, there's professionals. It was like the real Ghostbusters. Right. These people are really gonna...
Well, before that, there was that MTV show, though.
Ghost Hunters was before that.
Ghost Hunters came out before Fear?
I think so.
I don't think it did.
But they're 2 totally different types of shows.
They are 2 totally different types of show, but it was the same... It's the same concept, only one people
Yeah, I guess it did come out way after, but...
One group of people were educated in hunting ghosts and one people were not. That's the only diff.
Right. These people... Well, yeah, that was more of like a game show.
Right.
Where they're just trying to survive a night in a supposed...
But that was terrifying.
Oh, it was. That was a crazy show. Fear. It was also like the Scariest Places on Earth. Same concept, different channel. Scariest Places on Earth was my shit, though, because it had the one and only... What's her name? Zelda
Rubinstein.
Yeah. And she'd get on there and be like, welcome to Bavaria, one of the scariest places on earth. And then Linda Blair was the host, but it's narrated by the poltergeist lady. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Come on.
I love it.
Great show. Ghost Hunters. We're talking about Ghost Hunters being like the first ghost hunting show.
Yeah.
And then there's 1,000 since then. So much so that it's not even cool to watch. None of them, these boxes where they talk to go, and you're like, and it's like, and they're like, I heard it say Satan. Did you? It said Satan. And you don't know what it says. We tried an experiment. Don't watch it when they play those. You'll never figure out what the fuck it says.
Right. If you don't watch, because they always flash the word up on the screen, you're not
Or they say it.
Right.
And you're like, oh, they'll be like, oh, it said no murder. or whatever.
It didn't. It really didn't. Just stop it. We know you need content. Back to filler. It's back to filler. Right. It's just like the damn
How many ghost hunting shows do we need?
How many?
We got Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Brothers, Ghost Sisters, Ghost Mothers.
We've got the Tennessee, the Tennessee Rape Chasers.
The Tennessee Rape Chasers.
Rape Chasers.
And they go around raping ghosts. And it's horrifying. I don't know if you've ever seen a ghost rape, but it's not pretty.
Gross. Yeah. So it was really exciting when Ghost Hunters came out. Like, it just felt like an awesome
It was new. It quickly got diluted, though.
Clearly, people... It's not happening in this century. And here's why. And I think this is a good way to wrap it up with a thought about what we're going to talk about next week.
Right.
Still in paranormal. We've got a really long episode.
We just barely scratched the surface. We didn't get out of grandma's stories.
No, there's so much. But in my mind, I firmly believe that ghosts are part of the sim.
Oh, we talked about this.
And we are never going to have definitive proof until we extract ourselves from the sim or figure out how it's programmed.
Right. We talked about this. They're literally ghosts in the machine. So if simulation theory is correct and this is all just a simulation, we think it's just traces of old code and stuff that like kind of gets left behind as they rewrite stuff and do things.
Listen, I know I've got programmer friends out there. I know I've got geeks listening. Listen, you know as well as I do, if you've got an old ass piece of code and you try to change something in it and you leave some phantom piece of code in there that's now no longer operating on anything that happens downstream in that logic, it's just going to run on its own off here on the side. And every time you kick off that job, that piece of code's going to run, but it's not attached to the outcome. That's what a ghost is.
That's exactly right.
Do you have any parting words for us? Because we're going to dive into this next time.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about 100 things. We're going to revisit some stuff we probably glossed over.
We haven't talked about goblins. We haven't
talked about goblins. We haven't talked about ghouls.
We haven't talked about synchronicities. We haven't talked about witches.
We didn't even get to UFO.
We didn't. No.
UFO is paranormal.
It is paranormal. It's going to have to be its own. Oh,
but I'm just
listen. Masonic Temple is having a cryptid.
That's another thing. Cryptids are part of the paranormal.
Cryptids.
So a lot of people believe that all goes together. It's all part of the same mystery. Cryptids, UFOs, ghosts. They think it's all connected. We'll delve into that next time.
And I'm here to tell you, folks, that I literally have a sim explanation for every single one of those phenomena.
Now, I'd like to leave some parting words today. From one Mr. Henny Youngman. You know Henny Youngman, Goodfellas, take my wife, please. That guy, take my wife, please. I know a man who doesn't pay to have his trash taken out. How does he get rid of his trash? He gift wraps it and puts it into an unlocked card. Henny Youngman, take my wife, please.
Oh my God. It's crazy. Don't talk about Goodfellas. That's a whole nother tangent.
No, I know. We'll get there. All right. We'll see you.
Until next time, folks.